they can now start their healing journey.
More so relieved. It's a it's hard to explain, but it's a relief that we know where he is. But it's also it's sad to know that this was the outcome.
Now, this is still an ongoing investigation there in Knox County. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is taking the lead on the case. Two people in Knox County are facing charges in a recent shooting. 21-year-old Trevante Slaughter and 19-year-old Zachary Slaughter, they are brothers, are charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The victim with a prepaid card. Be reminded, you should never provide personal information over the phone, and if you cannot verify the legitimacy of the person who's calling you. Well, this is a sound you may hear roaring in your neighborhood. Cars drag racing. This is a trend that's growing in towns across the Golden Triangle, and people who live near where this is happening want law enforcement to get involved. Clay County Sheriff Eddie Scott says drag racing is both a nuisance and a hazard. Law enforcement agencies are trying.
We got 300 people that voted in the last election, and at least 4 people expected to die this week. Let me just put it this way. We have a lot of dead people. You'll never know because they're broke. I mean, they're broke and dead, but we have a very, very small group of people that to choose from to decide whether or not genocide is happening in Upora. Not if it's happening in the next little town, or if it's happening in the next little town to the south or to the west or to the east. Just if genocide is genocide happening in Upora.
Trying to bring these racers to their finish line.
Sooner or later, something's going to go wrong. You're going to kill an innocent bystander, citizen, you're going to kill yourself. Something is going to happen. This is dangerous. It's reckless. There is areas, they've got racetracks in Monroe County. They've got one over here on the edge of Clay and Octavia Hall. If you want to do this kind of stuff, this is where you need to go. Stay out of the public.
And if you see drag racing or hear drag racing in your area, you should report it by calling your local law enforcement, or you can use the non-emergency number star 47. CBS News has an exclusive up-close look at government efforts to crack down on the illegal trade of.
Exactly. See, someone should be explaining to this bitch, that even if I were to die, that some interesting, creative ass, geek ass person would be able to piece these puzzles back and see this video and destroy this bitch's entire legacy for not saying the answer to the one question. Is genocide happening in Mississippi?
Fentanyl. The CDC estimates more than 68,000 deaths from synthetic opioids were reported in the United States in the 12 months ending last August. A CBS News crew followed federal agents this week as they raided a suspected fentanyl lab, possibly run by cartels trying to distribute the drugs on U.S. streets instead of importing it. Jeff Pegues was in Tucson, Arizona.
Before the Homeland Security agents gathered ready to raid a Tucson, Arizona home. Starting to roll. We were there as they moved in with the help of local police.
Just the market.
Inside, they found 100 pounds, what they believe are precursor chemicals, or chemicals used to make fentanyl, a drug 50 times more potent than heroin, and flooding cities across the country, and blamed for thousands of deaths a year.
Why is it so hard to stop the distribution? Because there's so many different that can be smuggled into the United States, right? It's coming in through 18 and through passenger vehicles. It's coming in through walking across the border.
According to investigators, China is one of the primary suppliers for these precursor chemicals for fentanyl. And look what's written on this box, that it's harder to track because it's being shipped in smaller amounts. How does that pose problems for law enforcement?
Okay. Someone wants you to know what waterboarding sounds like. Without actually being waterboarded, and they think it's a fucking joke. For all the people who aren't me that's watching it and can see this video, it's a fucking joke. it's a joke. And it's a joke to me because I'm a fucking capitalist. And I know the only way that these bitches get out of this is to do what I told them to do. Die a fucking faggot. Die a fucking faggot.
They're not going to raise as much if they're coming in smaller shipments versus a large bulk shipment.
Last year, law enforcement more than 15 million fentanyl waste pills and over 10,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. That's enough to kill every American.
I don't believe that they're doing everything that they can.
Misty Little's 26-year-old daughter Cheyenne died after swallowing a pill that she didn't know was laced with fentanyl.
I want people to know that Cheyenne was a vibrant young woman that had her whole entire future ahead of her. You know, one bad decision, she shouldn't have lost her. I want people to know that her life mattered.
The Mexican cartels are always trying to stay one step ahead of law enforcement, and what was found in that house may be an example of that, because investigators are still testing the chemicals, but they believe that what was in that house may be a fentanyl lab. And now they see those across the country, but they don't see a lot of them, and that's what concerns them. Jeff Begaze, CBS News, Tucson, Arizona.
It was a very comfortable day today. Temperatures a little bit cooler. We hit 56, and now as we continue through our Friday evening, are beginning to drop, though we are still situated in the 50s. 50 degrees right now in Oxford, 51 at the Columbus Air Force Base, 52 in Starkville and West Point, also in Aberdeen, 53 for Tupelo, right? We saw a very pleasant day today, but rain is expected to move back in this weekend and again the week. However, we are seeing our seasonal temperatures back again. Andrea.
All right, Ashley, thanks a lot. Columbus City Schools could be following under next school year. The Columbus Municipal District Board of Trustees is holding a special call meeting Saturday morning. Now, along with a couple of regular business matters, one of the items on the agenda is the discussion of proposed 2023-24 academic calendars. Now, if you go to the agenda packet for that meeting, there are two proposed calendars, the traditional August through May school year and a proposed modified calendar, which would run from July 27th to May 30th. It appears to follow the 9-2 model that is growing in popularity around the state. It features a 2-week intercession period between each 9-week grading period. The Lowndes County School Board just approved a similar modified calendar for its 2023-2024 year. It's not known if the board plans to vote on that calendar. Again, that meeting is tomorrow morning. It's at 8 o'clock at Brandon Central Services. 2 old schools in our area now have new life. The Lyceum at Lee in Columbus and the Hill and Moore in Crawford have made the transition from houses of learning into some versatile venues for any occasion. Our Desmond Matt.
For those of you who don't understand the translation of bullshit, she's asking me to turn the channel to WTVA. They'd like to say something. And I'm obliging because I don't give a fuck about none of this shit.
Now,
Y'all talking to fucking each other. You're all dead faggots to me.
Pro-life activists gathering in Washington today for the first March for Life event since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Organizers say they will march past the Capitol and then finish closer to the Supreme Court.
This is a bitch understanding. This is a bitch understanding. Because if I have a fucking future, dead or alive, that means I have a fucking past that can be dead or alive. But I get to choose.
victory in the Dobbs versus Jackson women's health case, which struck down Roe's right to abortion in the country. The group says their work is not done. However, in this year's theme, Marching into a Post-Roe America, will focus on, quote, building a culture of life. Religious leaders, singers, and lawmakers coming together for the all-day event, including Mississippi's Attorney General.
Every time you see death chosen, that's that bitch choosing. I chose Jesus, and Jesus promised me everlasting life, and I'm cool with that. That bitch wants something else, and I want that bitch to have Jesus. So if I have to go over there where that bitch is, I'm gonna go over there where that bitch is, and I'm gonna give her Jesus.
Bitch who won the Dobbs case. Sales of previously occupied homes slumped nearly 18% in 2022, making it the slowest year for the housing market in nearly a decade. The National Association of Realtors reporting today that existing home sales totaled just over 5 million last year, a nearly 18% decline from 2021. Sales of previously owned homes tumbled 1.5% in December from November. It is the slowest pace since November 2010. The International Monetary Fund managing director says that the world's economy is less bad than first feared a few years ago. Kristalina Georgia spoke during a panel at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland today. She spoke during a panel at that panel today. She said that inflation seems to be going down and the global economy is projected to grow by 2.7% this year, thanks in part due to China reopening after months of strict COVID lockdowns. Now, she says inflation seems to be going down and the global economy is projected to grow by 2.7% this year. Again, thanks in part to China reopening after months of strict COVID lockdowns.
Just tell you there's no I in team that this was, there is none of that shit in the United States. Anywhere inside the United States are you not under a fucking obligation to protect your own personal fucking rights? All of us are. We are just the only constitution. Mississippi is just the only bitch that had the nerve to teach its motherfucking citizens that that's your own motherfucking job, not your motherfucking government.
He said ongoing risks include unemployment rates, the price of oil and gas, and the war in Ukraine. Well, the number of people getting respiratory viruses is trending down for the first time since September. The flu, COVID-19, and RSV cases have been overwhelming hospitals. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the number of ER visits for those three viruses combined has dropped to the lowest level in 3 months, and the improvement is in all age groups. Flu hospitalizations dropped to 1/4 of what it was at the peak a month and a half. But the flu season is notoriously unpredictable and far from over. Only 4 states, New Mexico, North Dakota, and Texas, has high flu levels. The second week in January, they are joined by 2 of America's largest cities, New York and Washington, D.C.
The only fucking job the government has is to help. It's the only fucking job it has.
Media says it will lay off 7% of its workforce. The CEO, Jim Bankorf, said in a memo today about 130 people will lose their jobs. Vox publishes New York Magazine as well as the news websites Vox and The Verge. The memo says the layoffs will affect multiple teams, including the editorial. Bankoff cites the economic challenges that have prompted layoffs at other tech and media companies.
Well, tell me what the fuck to do. You help me do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Vox notified affected employees by email, followed by HR meetings. The union representing the workers say it's about that approach. Google's parent company, Alphabet, said today it will actually eliminate 6% of its workforce. Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft has announced similar cuts. As for the media companies, the Washington Post, can you believe this, is expected to announce staff reductions soon. CNN, NBC News, MSNBC, and Gannett have already done so. Maine is the latest state to ban the TikTok app from government devices. State employees must stop using TikTok immediately and remove it from their work phones by February 1st. The new rules also apply to employees who use their personal devices for work. More than half of all U.S. states have either partially or fully restricted the app on state-issued devices. The reason? There are security concerns about TikTok's user data possibly reaching the Chinese government. Well, no one is above the law, and that's certainly the case for British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. He has been fined by police for failing to wear a seatbelt as a passenger in a moving car. After posting a video in his social media, a Downing spokesperson says that he will pay the fine and must apologize. This will be the second time that Sunak has been fined while holding public office.
Fuck am I not? I'm not gonna fucking chase a faggot.
Finance minister. Well, General Motors is investing more than $900 million to update 4 of its U.S. factories. The company announcing updates will be heading to plants in Rochester, New York.
Is that in my past, me chasing a faggot?
Now, much of the money.
I know me looking like I'm chasing a faggot to stroke a bitch's ego.
That's where GM
I know
is
that.
focusing on building its next generation.
But do you have a fucking intelligence agency that actually looked in my past and saw me chasing a faggot?
Hourly and salary jobs at all 4 sites. Changes could come as GM worked toward a future goal of selling all electric passenger vehicles by 2035. We'll be back with more news.
You came in after work, it's the only time you can. Say, get grilled cheese, sounds like a great plan. Wow, kids are like...
Moving right along, at least one.
Percentage was financing for 5 years for a limited time only at Ashley Home Store. You're watching ABC WTEA, Tupelo, Columbus. Tonight, the horrific images from inside a Walmart. Police say a former worker armed, storming into the break room and asking workers to line up. He then fired. Tonight, police releasing body camera images of officers in the store going aisle by aisle, searching for the suspect. Authorities revealing chilling details about the gunman's 15-minute rampage. Shooting one of the workers in that line, the gunman shooting at officers too. Alex Perez reporting. Also tonight, the father convicted of unspeakable horrors, sentenced tonight to 60 years in prison. What authorities say he did to students at his daughter's school at Sarah Lawrence College, and what the judge said in court today. Tonight, 3 active duty U.S. Marines under arrest, charged in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. How authorities tracked them down, and tonight the images from inside the Capitol, what they're seen doing. One allegedly posting, glad to be part of history. Pierre Thomas with late reporting. The one these 2 systems combining, one from the Rockies in the middle of the country, with a system from the south, and what it'll bring to Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and the entire Northeast. Lee Goldberg timing it out. Tonight, the new images in New York of Alec Baldwin seen for the first time since learning he'll be charged with involuntary manslaughter. What his legal team is saying tonight. The war in Ukraine, new images coming in, the horrific explosions in the east, and what President Zelensky is pleading for now. The U.S. Defense Secretary in Germany, and why the Germans so far are saying no. Authorities on the death of an American in Mexico, the husband found dead, the wife sleeping, and why the family isn't buying the explanation. Also tonight, the cause of death revealed after that crash involving the beloved Will and Grace actor, Leslie Jordan. Did Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes buy a one-way ticket to Mexico after her conviction? And the remarkable moment tonight, the mother, the wedding dress, and the moment her son sees her, very strong. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir. Hey, Dean, it's great to have you with us this morning.
I'm in a lot of fucking pain today.